I like that. I think it sounds like it really helps people focus on their home security, or maybe not even just focus on their home security, better understand their home security. The 5 Ds of home security starts with, you have to outline your perimeter. Where's my perimeter? And then you look at everything from there and how do you make, with deter, detect, delay, deny, and defend kind of stuff, right? So, how do you look at that? And I don't think people really, I think people play a lot of lip service to that, just kind of like, I know my perimeter and this is what it is. And then it gets back to the rifle. I'll defend, right? Kind of thing. But if you can look at your locks and everything else, that's where you get into that deterrence. I have a trailer out in my driveway here, a utility trailer. And at my old house, when I was living in Georgia, between myself and a roommate I had, we had 3 trailers stolen out of our driveway. So now, like with my trailer here, I got a hitch lock on it.
Mhm.
I have a padlock on it. I have two of the wheel chocks. I have a cable around the wheel. So if somebody looks at it, it's like, oh, it's going to take me a while to steal this trailer. And hopefully that deters someone from messing around my driveway very long. But I think that your course can benefit people in that way, just a better way to look at their homes. Speaking of locks, what if someone wants to, like, say, secure their doors,
Mhm.
right? Because that's obviously a big entryway into the house. What are some good door locks to look at that aren't and setups that can really help withstand, a fair amount of force for someone trying to get in there?
Sure. That is the first question I get from a lot of people after I show them how to pick a lock open. They go, "Oh, I picked it open," and then they go, "I have to change my locks on my door." And while in a vacuum they're not wrong, there is just an incredible, overwhelming mountain of evidence that no, you don't have to change your locks. You can breathe. Much more beneficial to do things like frame hardening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called your latch strike plate. It's a little square thing with the rounded edge that when you shut the door, the latch hits it and then tucks in and then goes into that hole. It's a little plate that they drill in. Those are usually installed with 1/2-inch screws, maybe 1-inch screw at best. Take those out, plug a 3-inch screw in, and you're instantly way more protected from things like a forced entry on your door. So changing the screws in that strike plate will give you a much better return on investment for security. And that's because what do you think is more likely? Someone that's going to pick your lock open or someone that's going to kick your door in or pry your door out? And the data shows overwhelmingly that things like a forced entry is way more likely than someone picking your lock. Lock picking is a growing skill set and a growing art form. It's certainly expanded over the last 2 decades. I've been heavily involved in it. But the FBI data, if you look up the publicly available with the burglary statistics, I think it's more than 99% of all burglaries were void of lockpicking. It was either breaking something to get in or going in through an open door or window or having the key somehow. Just and that's for a lot of people don't know this, but I don't want to say most, a lot of burglaries happen from people that already have access. So it depends on what you're trying to defend against. And that's really important. I did a whole hour-long podcast on that recently. I think title is something like threat assessment or knowing your attacker or something like that. But the point is, if you want to stop a couple hoodlum kids from breaking into your house, just lock the doors and windows. Okay. If you want to stop a home invasion where someone's going to force entry in, upgrade the hardware around your door and your frame. You don't even need to change the locks. Just make it harder to kick in and put some window film on your windows so they're harder to break with a brick. Problem solved. If you're worrying about Jason Bourne, assassinating you in the middle of your sleep, probably nothing you can do about that. So just live your life. So it depends on what you want to prevent against. And I always recommend that they do target hardening before they worry about their locked and keyed systems.
Yeah. Have you ever messed around with door armor? It goes on the...
Yeah.
Goes up the door jam side?
I recommend that 100%.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
No, I like that. I think that's important. Did you ever watch the show To Catch a Thief back in the day? Probably 20
Yeah,
years
maybe
ago
seen an
now.
episode or two. Yeah.
50. It was two guys that like they're professional burglars and they both done time in prison for it. And that's how I guess how they were found. And people asked them, well, you got caught. And they're like, yeah, but I robbed thousands of homes. And I think that what they said was that it was, oh shoot, people not locking their front doors and then unlocked windows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know they recommended putting your exterior doors on self-closing hinges and having a touchpad combination lock of some sort. So that way, when you go out, it always closes. Doesn't matter if you have your keys with you, and that way, human laziness doesn't figure into the equation. If you want to look at a good brand of door locks, is there a brand out there that's
Yes.
better?
So you're going to spend quite a bit of money, but the ASSA Abloy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's a foreign company. I'm pretty sure it is. They have a key that's not shaped like a normal house key. The problem is a locksmith is not going to pick that thing open. Probably 90% chance the locksmith is going to have to either destroy the lock or find a different way in. They're great if you don't want someone picking your lock. And the interesting thing about that is anything that's 1 degree off from standard common practice lockpicking is a security step in a positive direction for security by obscurity, even if it's not a very strong system, even if it's easy to pick, because most lockpicking is taught on pin tumbler locks. That's the kind of house key where you've had since you were a kid. It's got the flat, smooth bottom on the key blade and the little ridges on top. And there's maybe 3 or 4 brands out there over the last 20, 30 years. Kind of the big 3, big 4. Those are all pickable with something just the size of 2 little tools the size of a paperclip. There's a 90% chance that if I were to walk up to your front door right now, I could be in within, on a good day, 60 seconds, on a bad day, 6-7 minutes. Very high percentage chance. But if you own a locking system that doesn't look like that normal key, then I have to go, ooh, I hope I have the tool for that. So and I'm a very experienced entry expert. And if on the chance that you have something different than the normal, even if it's easy for me to open, I have to go, I don't have the tool. And I either have to try to makeshift something to work or try again later, go home.
Right.
So security by obscurity is an interesting concept. But the way that most people in the mainstream use it is, I went to a bar maybe a year or 2 ago, and a couple sat down next to me and they were like, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I teach emergency entry, how to unlock locks. They went, you teach criminals. How dare you? I went, God, yeah. Just like martial arts academies teach bullies and just like gun ranges teach murderers. Yeah, I know. So it's a spoon. It can make you fat. It can make you healthy. It's up to you how you use it. So most of the people, they think that if no one speaks about the flaw in this system, then we're safe. Yeah. And that's a terrible way to live your life. That's like, I heard the metaphor, that's like running through the woods with a blindfold on because you're less likely to hit a tree because you can't see them.
Right.
Well, no, there is a flaw in your system. The best thing you can do is understand the flaw in your system and adjust accordingly, or not, but at least to be aware of it. So yeah, that's a weird side rant. I've been in this game for a long time. There's lots of weird ins and outs. I've published 5 books so far on the topic. We have a couple more coming out this year of non-destructive entry and lockpicking.
Right.
And I think one of them might just be kind of behind the scenes. I think that'd be interesting. Just the stuff that people don't, even practitioners of the sport and the skill set, things that aren't public knowledge, I think would be interesting to kind of write about.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. That's all really interesting.